Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, very interesting that Krishna has no false conception of I and mine. This is exactly what material life is all about. And it is the same as stated by Bhishmadev, who is saying that Krishna is not depending on any external things to add to his ego or to boost up his ego in our words. So that's interesting, because we indeed are always involved in boosting up our ego. We look for external things to give us an image, also in a positive sense. We wear saffron clothes because it reminds us of our commitment to the lotus feet of Krishna. Why saffron? Because the dust at lotus feet of Krishna is saffron. Can't beat that argument, can you? It's still a good call. But we are wearing that so that it will influence our consciousness. Thus we are always, in a positive sense and in a negative sense, using external things to add to our consciousness. In the negative sense, for our own glorification and our false prestige. We know that in some cultures of the world, rich people used to take out a tooth and put a diamond in there. Smile. So, in other countries we do it more subtle. Just Swiss. Like that. It's just a brand name. A little brand name here, a little brand name there, and immediately you're up one level in social circles. So, in many ways, we are boosting up our ego. But Krishna is not at all affected like that. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the description of Indra, who was seated on his throne in his court, and there were many personalities who were glorifying him, who were describing the glories of Indra. Some were speaking and saying Indra did the most wonderful things, and just remember the pastimes of Indra. And Indra was also remembering his own pastimes. And then others were singing songs, Jai Indra, yes, Jai, Jai, Jai. And then in the middle of all that, Brihaspati, his spiritual master, appeared in the court. And Indra was so absorbed in the glorification that he totally forgot to welcome his spiritual master. He didn't come down from the Vyasa-san, didn't offer his obeisances. And Brihaspati just left. Inauspicious. So here we see that the conditioned soul becomes overwhelmed. And the more we say, Jai, Jai, and the more we start to feel, yes. And we indulge in it. And we get carried away by this aggrandizement. But Krishna is not affected by it. Krishna, it says, is also not affected by blasphemy. We may recall the story of Bhrigu, who was asked by the sages to ascertain who was the Supreme Lord, Brahma, Shiva, or Lord Vishnu. Came to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma wanted to embrace him. And Lord Shiva said, no, don't touch me. And Lord Brahma was offended. So he neglected Lord Brahma. In the case of Lord Shiva, he was even stronger, and he was just physically abrasive. But in the case of Lord Vishnu, he kicked him on the chest with full force. So, that was outright obnoxious. And Lord Vishnu said, "Oh, my dear Bhrigu, I hope you are all right, and that you didn't hurt your foot. My chest is very hard. Are you okay?" So he was totally unaffected. And then Bhrigu could understand, yes, he's the Supreme Lord. Because he's not affected by any blasphemy or by any such things. The others were, but Vishnu was not. So the same point is coming out there in that narration of the 10th canto. How the Lord is not affected. In the story of Jagai and Madai, we remember that they were both very much degraded and engaged in violence and in all kinds of outrageous activities. But, and they even attacked Lord Nityananda, as we know. But then, Madai was the one who hit Lord Nityananda with the pot. And Jagai, when Nityananda stood there bleeding, then Madai wanted to beat him again. And Jagai said, no, stop. He's innocent, don't do this. And for that, Jagai, later on, Lord Chaitanya appeared, Sudarshan Chakra ready, killed them, and that said, no, but Jagai, Nityananda said, no, Jagai has tried to save me. Oh, Lord Chaitanya embraced Jagai, and Madai had to still suffer. Jagai, love of God, ecstasy, and Madai looking at like, but, wait a minute, what about me? We did the same. Well, subsequently, Madai was embraced by Nityananda, and then he also got love of God. But there was a complication, that Madai, although he had been forgiven by Lord Nityananda, he could not forgive himself. That was the problem. And because he could not forgive himself, he had no peace. He had no peace of mind. So he was, and then Nityananda one day spoke to him, and Nityananda said, my dear Madai, all these offenses you have committed towards me, he said, I didn't take that very serious. He said, like when a child hits his father, the father is not really becoming very disturbed by it. So, in this way, we see how the Supreme Lord is viewing the situation. A father is not overwhelmed that when a child calls out the name of his father, then the father is not, oh, I'm being glorified, oh, I'm being glorified. That's not the mood of the father. The mood of the father is, this child loves me. That touches his heart. Oh. So it's not that he's enjoying the glorification, oh, my name, my glories. So in the same way, the Supreme Lord, when the devotee calls out to him, he takes it as a symptom of love. Even if there is not much love in the heart of that devotee, it's the beginning of love. Because there is no remuneration. So, therefore, his own glories, when Krishna hears his own holy name, has nothing to do with it. It simply has to do with the intimate relationship that Krishna has with all living beings, an intimate relationship of love. And that is why Krishna is unaffected by this kind of glorification of himself, which is interesting. But you see, it's like if the situation was, I am the Supreme Lord, the Master of all that I survey. Naturally, they must worship me, these lowly, fallen, dependent jivas. If not, I will send them to hell. Yes, they deserve it for neglecting me. For such neglect, I will have them burn for a long time. Yes, because I am the Lord and Master of all that I survey, and thus I am to be worshipped. That's not at all the situation. Krishna is not in this bhav. I'm the Master and Lord of all that I survey.